I'm Carole Young. Welcome to Community Chest. Community Chest is a program that spotlights nonprofit organizations in the Kingman area. If you're a nonprofit organization and you would like to appear in one of our shows, contact us at 718-3600. That's 718-3600. Now today's show is going to spotlight a special program called Clear Your Car. And my special guests are Tanner Miller from the Kingman Fire Department and Scott Kern from Kingman Regional Medical Center. So stay tuned, don't go away. We'll be right back after these messages. Hi, welcome back to Community Chest. Today's show is going to spotlight a program called Clear Your Car. And I have with me Scott Kern and Tanner Miller. I want to welcome both of you to my show.
Thank you.
I plan on learning a lot from this show. So before we get into it though, I'd like you to tell our audience a little bit about yourself and what you do. So we'll start with you, Tanner.
Okay, my name is Tanner Miller. I've worked for the City of Kingman Fire Department for about 7 years now. I'm an engineer paramedic currently, and that's pretty much what I do.
That's a lot.
I don't have a job that's nearly as impressive as his. I work in public relations in the foundation for the hospital, so I work with people like Tanner and other nonprofit organizations to promote what services they're offering to the community.
Okay. Well, I think people should know, Tanner, that your job is very important because whenever a 911 call comes in, you go out on it.
Absolutely.
And then you even go to the hospital with the patient in the ambulance, don't you?
If needed, yeah. Okay. There's sometimes we'll turn over on scene if it's something they can handle, but if they need help, absolutely, we'll ride in all the way to the hospital and offer our assistance. So.
Okay. I just want to get that out there because I think you do a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Let's start with the program itself. Exactly how did you get involved with this? And then we'll go into what the program is.
Basically, late last summer of last year, we answered a call for a little girl that was left in a car. They reported to us that she wasn't breathing. We got there. She was in the car for a long duration of time, and the little girl had perished despite all our efforts. I took it really hard because she was very close to the same age as my daughter, and you can't help but associate with your own kid. You know, you see your kid laying there, and it's such a tragedy, you know, on so many levels, just to see. And you know, people get overworked, people get tired. Having a newborn at home is hard on people when you're up all night and you're trying to remember stuff. I didn't really realize how big a problem it was until I started researching online, and we're seeing these numbers of deaths of kids every summer, and people are thinking that they can leave their kid in the car and run inside to the store and buy something real quick because the kid's sleeping, and I'll just let him sleep, and it doesn't work that way. You know, we're finding drastic rise in temperature in just a short, brief period. You know, for the time for you to run in and buy something and come back out. So
that's true. You don't realize. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Scott.
Well, you know, like I said, I work at KRMC in the Public Relations Department, and Tanner came to us, I'd say probably around January or so, saying, you know, telling us about his story and what he wanted to do to help the community about this. So we kind of put our heads together, and we started to develop a formula to really, you know, get the awareness out there and start building awareness and remind parents that, you know, clear your car. You know, so we started to really piece together different kind of programs we can look at doing down the road, and maybe some kind of you know, promotional item to put in the car so people can figure out or remind themselves to make sure they take their kid out of their car. And you know, Tanner's so passionate about it, we couldn't help but, you know, jump on board with it. You know, it's the right thing to do at the end of the day. And you know, we feel very privileged to be partnering up with Tanner and the fire department on this, because this thing is only going to grow, and it's only going to be a very big organization as it moves forward to really promote this cause.
Okay, and your experience is very sad. It's a very sad experience, but to you took it to heart, and
you can't help but take it to heart. You know, it's something that you can't walk away from, and this is something that it haunts me to this day. You know, I lay down at night and think about that call, and you know, this is my way of dealing with it. Scott was so great, and Kingman Regional team up with us. The professional firefighters at Kingman, which is our union, have jumped in. Chris Simpson has been awesome. He's our vice president, about donating money. And this year we're kind of behind the 8 ball. As Scott said, I kind of came to him in January, and I was basically just wanting to get a word out there and do. But this thing has gotten so big that next summer is when we're really looking at taking this state, maybe regional wide.
Yeah.
You know, we're really going to.
We're going to start with almost like a grassroots thing, you know, locally through here, through the hospital and our OB unit with literature to educate the parents as they become new parents with the newborns. And then, like I said, hopefully we're working on almost like a temperature gauge you can put in your car that'll remind you to check your car and clear your car once it gets past a certain temperature. So we've got a lot of neat things in the pipeline. It's just a matter of getting all the ducks in a row and getting out there and educating people.
Yeah, well, once you get started, it's going to go really fast, and January is going to be here faster than you realize. So basically, the program is just to make parents and grandparents and anyone else who has kids in the car to remember that they're in there and not to leave them.
Exactly. I mean, there's no greater tragedy in someone's life than losing a child like that.
And you don't realize just how hot it gets inside a car. I know in Kingman sometimes it probably gets, what do you think the highest temperature is?
Well, we're getting about 100, but what a lot of the statistics we're finding online is even on 80-degree days, with a car with dark interior, the interior within a matter of 30 minutes to an hour can reach over 200 degrees.
So you don't realize that even the color of the interior makes a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
That's on all the statistics I've looked up, that's the main factor was the color. The cracking the windows, everything else didn't really play a factor in it. What else they're finding is, you know, with what people don't realize is kids don't regulate temperature like we do. We can sit in a hot car and wait for somebody, and you get hot and then we cool back down. Kids' body temperature increases 3 to 5 times faster than any adult, and it takes them that much longer to dissipate the heat. So once a kid gets hot, they dehydrate faster because they have less body fluid, and then, you know, you're reaching tragedy. And what we're finding, 2010, the highest year ever, we had 49 child fatalities in the United States, and 3 were here in Arizona.
That's insane.
So far this year, the last one we had was July 31st, and it was our 22nd child fatality this year of 2011. None in Arizona yet, but it's still, people in cooler climates aren't realizing on a 70-degree day, you shut the door and run in the store, in and out for 20 minutes, windows cracked, and your car's reaching 130 degrees.
I can't imagine parents leaving their kids in the car 5 minutes when it's so hot in Arizona. And this is a nationwide program. Is it?
It's not yet. We've just started this at Kingman Regional, so we plan on getting to that point. But so far, we're
that is your goal.
Ultimate goal is nationwide, but we want to start here and start building locally and branching out countywide and eventually statewide. Then.
But your statistics was nationwide.
The statistics, yes, that I found online there's hordes of information everywhere. So it's a known thing, but you know, it's just people aren't realizing what they're doing. And what we're hoping with the heat-sensitive cards is even having the card hanging from your mirror as you're driving, you can say, wow, you know, it's a lot harder than I thought.
You know, that's the big thing is we just want to remind people to check your car.
So let's talk about the card. What is it and how do...
Well, we're still developing it right now. We're still working through it. Essentially, it's a temperature-based card that once the temperature gets past a certain point, it'll change colors. And it'll have, you know, clear your car in bright letters behind the temperature, behind the original ink, and then once it cools back down, it just disappears again.
Oh, cool.
It's almost like those hypercolor shirts back 15, 20 years ago where they would change colors based on temperature. It's the same theory about that, so we're working on that right now, which is really kind of cool.
So you're going to get that out, and are you going to be going to like the different organizations and giving talks and?
Yes, that's where I'd like to get definitely down the line. And I mean, just like today, you know, something where we can go talk to people and let them know what's going on. Our goal with the cards is to hand them out with the newborn packets at the hospital, which Scott is going to be able to go with. So when we have new parents, it's something that comes in their kit, and they can hang it on their mirror and say, you know, oh, it's hot. You know, I need to clear my kid.
Don't forget, even though the baby's new.
Exactly. It's just a simple, gentle reminder that doesn't hurt anybody to have out. So that's the idea.
I guess if you do have a new baby, you're not used to just checking and making sure. And I know some of the suggestions that I read is put your purse in the back of the car so that you go
anything,
there.
Yeah, briefcase, cell phone. We actually found some online too. Some other tips you can use is to carry a stuffed animal with you and leave it in your car seat. And then whenever you have your kid, you put your kid in, put the stuffed animal in the front seat. So you see the stuffed animal up there, and then you can know to that your kid's back there. Kind of little stuff like that. Other things are if you're worried about your kid, if you want to kind of prevent stuff, try to use drive-thrus as much as possible. In today's society, obviously, there's lots of places for drive-thrus. I know when I load my daughter up, she's doing the head knob, and I'll go to all my drive-thru places first, and then when it's about time to wake her up, then that's when I'll get in and go into the stores.
Well, I guess that's where it's really easy to forget about your child, because they do go to sleep, and they're not making noise, so it is.
And once they start being quiet, that's the time to start worrying, you know.
Well, and there's a lot of parents too that think. I had a guy approach me the other day that I work with that said a friend of his left her kid in the car, and she's like, "Oh, he loves it because it's warm and he gets quiet and goes to sleep." And it's like, that's a bad sign.
That is a bad sign.
So it looks comforting, like, oh, it's warm and we can relax, and it's not at all. That's a terrible sign. So yeah, definitely, we want parents not to think that it's comforting, and also, with our message, we want to get across that it's not even if you're not a parent, get in the habit of, if you're going to a big parking lot, looking for kids, like as you're scan cars. And, there's a lot of times that's where we get the phone calls, for 911, because, I have death statistics right here. And granted, I've only been on one child that had perished in a car, but I've been on multiple calls with people calling 911 because there's a kid in the car, and we get there and these kids are sick, and we're having to cool them down and give them IV fluids and do all this stuff. But those people are the ones that find out. So if we can get the public in large to just walk through and scan cars and
awareness,
see kids
out there.
Yeah, see kids in a car seat. I mean, that's
the important
where we
thing.
want to get.
And I guess you don't realize, you think it's okay maybe to leave a child in the car and just run in, but sometimes it takes longer than you anticipate once you get inside a store or something. And
even like fast food, I can recall we had a call a while back where a lady ran into a fast food restaurant and just left her kid in the parking lot. He was sleeping real quick. It was like July, it was like 103. But, even if you perceive it as fast food, I went in, you're still killing, on a good day, 20 minutes, being in there, placing your order, waiting for them to cook it. And then, so, I mean, there's really no quick in and out associated with it. It's.
Well, with the heat too, and not only making people aware of not leaving the kids in the car, but also make them aware they should always have bottled water for their kids there, because the heat.
Well, bottled water, and on top of that, maintain your air conditioning. I know that's the financial times as they are. It's hard, but when you have a kid, that's something that your kid needs. It's not necessarily just your comfort, but maintain your air conditioning. Clean out your cabin filters, stuff like that. Like, we want people to be proactive with their cars and keep that nice, cool environment for your kid, because, like I said, kids can't take the heat like we can.
No, and I didn't realize that either. I thought everybody's body temperatures was the same and heated up the same. So, well, we're going to take a short break, and then we'll be right back.
Perfect.
Stay tuned, don't go away. We'll come right back. Welcome back to Community Chest. Our show today is on Clear Your Cars, and I have Scott Kern and Tanner Miller, and we're talking about the reasonings why you should never leave your kids in the cars just to run in for a few minutes any place. We were talking about some statistics. Are there any other statistics that you would like to cover before we get into fundraising and stuff like that?
Well, a lot of the stuff we're finding is that ever since the airbags went into development is when the child deaths have begun, the heat stroke type child deaths, because obviously you can't put your kid in the front seat with the airbags. So once the airbags come in place and kids started going in the back seat is when we noticed the big difference in the fatalities.
And they don't get the air conditioning as much in the back seat as up in the front.
You got to keep it circulated.
And small children, and especially infants, are turned around facing that seat. And if it's a dark seat, like you said, it facilitates that heat.
And the majority of the deaths have been less than 1 year. And upon the surveys, the majority of people say they forgot, new parents or however else they, how it is. You get tired, you get just strained, and to the point of when your kid's quiet, it's like, and there's times that people just forget that and go in and, get home from work and forget the kid in the car. And
not only that, but don't you think nowadays, within the last 10, 15 years, people are in more of a hurry than they ever
Absolutely.
were.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're not thinking, they're multitasking. And
we're a very connected society now between our cell phones and everything else, and we quit thinking about the things that are in front of us and start, like you said, multitasking. And that's part of the problem, is we have to learn to, keep the cell phone in our pocket and handle what's important, which would be our kids,
right.
When you get out of the car.
Well, it's really great that you're going to be getting this program rolled out, because it's a necessary program, and I think it will bring more awareness to people, especially if they put their cell phones in their purses and stuff in the back seat. That way they have to open that door.
Well, if we can get them to put their cell phones in the back seat, that'll also double as getting people to stop talking on the phone while they're driving, which has always been a big problem too.
And it's not even talking on the phone. It's you got people Facebooking now on the phone. You can
texting,
play texting. You play games. You can tweet. There's so many. These new phones do everything, and in that, not only just for fun, you got people for work. So when you're on your day off and your boss is calling you, asking you to go over this, and you're checking emails and trying to get things laid out, and then that's when you start forgetting things. And when you got a sleeping infant in the back seat, that's when you
got to talk. Exactly.
Yeah, your mind is not on
your
that
mind's
child.
on whatever, and next thing you know, tragedy struck.
Let's talk a little bit about your funding. How are you funded?
Well, right now we're really not buying anything aside the cards. The cards, Scott, Kern, and the Kingman Regional Medical Center, when we went with them, they actually were willing to put up half of the money for the initial batch of cards, and the professional firefighters of Kingman put up the other half. So,
so right now we're working together on that, and as this grows and develops, and I'm sure an actual organization will come out of this, a nonprofit, in the long term. We'll work on fundraising then, and start different programs. We go out to schools and. And maybe when they do new parent boot camps, I know they do those around here.
We'd like to get in those, in all the new parenting classes where we can actually buy a chunk of time where we can start going and teaching the hazards kind of associated with leaving the kids in the car.
And not only that too, but if you down the road get a program in the schools, kids are really good about telling their parents, hey, my sister's here, my brother's here.
Oh, and as a firefighter, we have so many parents like, my kid came home and demanded we get smoke detectors and demanded we put in fire extinguishers.
Because I think kids have to be at least 40 or 50 pounds before they get out of car seats now, and they keep changing those regulations. So I know when I was 4 or 5 years old, I wasn't in a car seat anymore, but now I think they still are. So that's a good, if you can get in the preschools and the kindergartens and still remind those kids that, hey, it's okay to tell mom and dad, get me out of the car because you're getting out.
And not only that, but get our little sister, brother out of the car
That's
too.
right, because
mom and dad have the infant, that's the one that's not gonna talk to you and tell you it's hot in here or anything like that.
They're real good about telling their parents things. So going down the road, and I know you're looking to roll this out nationally and everything. You said that there might be an organization developed. What about funding then? Are you looking at getting funding from the public or?
Well, at that point, if it gets that big, and we are looking going statewide or national-wide, funding would probably be through grants and other means, private donations, obviously. And there's so many, I don't want to say roadblocks, but things we have to put in place before we even get to that point. The first things first is we're focused on the Kingman and Mojave County area to get the education out there and see how well received it is. Everyone we've talked to about it has really done a great job and been very positive about what Tanner's trying to accomplish here. And once we can build off that and get that solid base down, like I said, then we can start moving statewide through the Phoenix and Tucson Flagstaff areas. And then once we get a foothold in there, we can eventually start moving regionally and then hopefully nationwide. And it's a long-term plan, but it's a commitment thing though too. And Tanner's very committed to the project. And
it's how I cope. This is how I cope without losing my mind.
You're taking on a big responsibility, and
to see
his commitment like this is
exactly, and to see his passion with him, and spend 5 to 10 minutes talking to Tanner about this. It's easy for you to want to get behind him and want to help and support, and that's why the hospital really was a no-brainer for us to get on board with this, because he's very passionate about it. And we want to help. We're here to help people too, and there's no better way to start than to get behind somebody like this who is ready to take the bull by the horns and make sure everyone knows, clear your car.
Well, I have to tell you, being a city council person, I am so proud that it's one of our firemen that is pushing this project, because I feel like it's very important. the awareness is beneficial to everyone. So
Absolutely. And you know, to be honest, this year, and I hate to use the phrase "we're behind the 8 ball" because we've really accomplished a lot.
We've done quite a bit, yeah.
There was so much more. I had no idea it was going to have the reception it is, because everybody I talked to was like, "Come down here." The guys at KGMN, Tim, and those guys were awesome about come in and record. They recorded everything. They've plastered it all over the radio, and we've been running it all summer. And so many people are calling me. That's the real cool part, is receiving phone calls. I'm like, who's this? And they're like, hey, are you the guy doing the Clear Your Car stuff? And we want to help. And Nicole at the NAC called me up one day.
That's so
did that. And then we're actually having the professional firefighters of Havasu called wanting to buy in on the cards.
Yeah.
And the professional firefighters of Bullhead.
Oh, good. Good.
So,
that we'll have a
Exactly.
Tri-City.
Countywide, we're going to cover it pretty well. And then, like Scott said, next year we're hoping to jump on this thing in January and get where we need to be to...
You know, when Tanner first came to me about this back in January, is actually, he works very closely with my mom in the emergency room. She's the base unit coordinator. And she kept telling me, you need to talk to Tanner about this. And I get very busy in my own little world. And when I finally got a chance to talk to Tanner, we started talking about his plans and goals. And you don't realize how fast this thing snowballs as people catch word and realize it's a great idea. And it's, you know, we had a lot of plans this year, and then you think of, well, if we do this, we can do this. If we do that, we can do this, and it starts building on itself. And like I said, for us, it's all going to start probably the big rollout, I'd say, next summer. In the meantime, we just do the educating and as much talk as we can.
And I don't know if you realize just how much time this is going to be. The marketing, just the marketing, and letting people know what it is, and there is a program out there, and then the educating part is going to be tremendous too. So I found out about it from Chris Simpson, because he sent the council people an email, and I thought, oh, this is such a super program.
And he's doing so good about letting people know, and then just like, go do this. I got this set up for you, and he's been a great help. And like I said, Scott and the guys at Kingman Regional have really helped out. Warren designed us a logo. One of the guys.
I work with
saw the logo.
Guy,
I saw the
it's
logo.
Awesome. So he designed that. So we're planning on getting that, and how far it goes, we love to develop sunshades, shirts, you know, whatever we can do. Stuffed animals with that Clear Car logo, just so any kind of reminder that somebody can have the, hey, I need to take the kid out of the car.
There's a lot of long-term plans, obviously. We don't want to get our eyes bigger than our mouths.
Well, you're so excited
It's so excited about it. It's easy to build off that, which is very cool.
I can see why other people are getting on board. I mean, just your enthusiasm pulls
Exactly.
them in.
And you can
That's
see
what you want.
Exactly. With someone like Tanner with that enthusiasm, it's hard to say no. Plus the cause too. I mean, it's a perfect cause to get behind, especially living in the Southwest like we do, where we might take the 110-degree temperatures for granted because we're just used to it. But like you said, if you get caught up in the moment, talking on the phone or what have you, you're going to forget that there's a child in the car.
Yes.
And not only that, when we get nationwide, you know, we want people to think like in Minnesota, where they get pretty warm in the summer, but I mean, a bunch of these statistics, and I don't know, they don't say humidity levels, but a bunch of the temperatures are like 70 or 80 degrees. Where they're finding child fatalities in the South, in the Midwest, and everywhere. You know, it's a big problem.
And the thing too, like in the summertime, people on vacations, if you're from a cooler climate and you're driving through, you will not think. I mean, you'll just leave your kid in the car and run into the store or something. And
Exactly.
So the awareness, national awareness, is
it's a different
going to
beast.
really be important.
So right now we're kind of looking at. I'm going to develop. Right now I have a Facebook, a causes.
Okay.
So you can join the cause. You guys, all your viewers, everybody can search that on Facebook. Also, I'm going to develop a Facebook page, and then down the road, I'd like to develop an actual YouTube channel.
Great.
We can actually put videos up. We have some pretty good ideas with that. One of the guys that works with the city, he does a bunch of that on his days off, the video editing. So he said he'd work for us on that. And we definitely down the road, we'd love to do a nonprofit website. It's just a matter of getting to that point. So.
Right. Well, the Facebook page you're going to find is going to
It's going to be huge.
Reach a lot of people. And what I found with Facebook, you know, you see one person, and then you see all these other people that you might know, and it just
goes from
bubbles
there.
through.
Yep. Yeah. So tell your viewers, keep an want out for us. You know, we're gonna try to plaster this thing on everything we can, and just we just want to get the word out. And not only I not only want to prevent people from losing their kids, I want to prevent another medic from going through what me and my crew had to go through. And not to make it about me, but that's something I really had to concentrate on. I had to say a lot of prayers and do a lot of talking to people to stay in my position, because I was ready to hang it up. You know, I was.
Well, we've run out of time.
Okay,
I
Karen.
want to thank you for being
Thank
here,
you.
and I think this is a great cause. And remember, clear your cars. I'll see you next week here on TV 57 Community Chest.